Hello, I'm Duncan from One-Off Accounting. Today in this video, we're going to show you an example way of categorizing your expenses when you have a mixture of employee expenses and also ABN business expenses in the same year, where many of those expenses are a mix of ABN and employee expenses. A good way to start is to export your bank account transactions from your bank account and identify all the spend money transactions. Then to identify the spend money transactions where it either has been an expense for you as an employee or you as an ABN business owner. If there are additional expenses as well as from that dedicated bank account, you can also manually add them on as well. The bank data, when exported from the bank, will focus on transaction date, amount, and transaction description. The transaction description will give you a clue as to what the expense is, but also reference your invoices from the supplier as well. In this first example, it's a website expense, and this expense for the individual is only a business expense and not an employee expense. So I've said yes to business expense, no to employee. It's 100% business, not part private, 0% employee. GST was charged. We're going to record the transaction details, the total including GST, the GST amount, and the amount of the total transaction less GST. The columns in the green are further calculations that often are needed to calculate the business use times the transaction total. In this second example, we've got another expense that's purely business, 100%. It's a business name renewal fee. No GST has been charged. So we've gone through the same process, recorded that there's no GST now. In this third example, it is both a business and employee expense. And in this case, it's 50% business, 50% employee. Again, we'll go through, record the transaction amounts. The next example is purely employee expense, nothing to do with ABN business expenses. The example here are union fees. We'll even put in the description a suffix of employee to highlight that it is employee only. The GST amount is not really relevant here, but just as a good process, we're going to record it anyway. It's 100% employee expense. The next example is mobile phone use, where it is part employee, part business, and part private expense. So when we go through mark it as a business, mark it as employee, we've recorded 30% business, 30% employee, which means 40% private. And the calculations to the right side of the spreadsheet are working through that percentage times the transaction amounts. In the next example, it is both ABN and employee use, but in this case it's 80% business and 20% employee. So we're going to record that. Record 80% ABN, 20% employee. The calculations here then apply that business use to the GST amount as well. Okay, I hope that video was useful. It's a good start. Obviously everyone's situation is slightly different, and this approach may be really helpful or not as helpful depending on your situation. If all your expenses are mainly business and you've just got a few employee expenses, you're really best to do a different approach and follow the business expense recording and then just have a small spreadsheet to add on the extra employee expenses. Or if your situation is the other way around, likewise. Alright, thanks for listening.